Welcome, I am Meredith Printz, Executive Director of the Missoula Community Foundation, and this is our final boot camp of the year, which is our first series of boot camps. So thank you all for attending. This is our 8-week work plan boot camp, where we will talk about kind of getting your plan together so that you'll have a very successful Giving Day on May 3rd. So you all should have signed in and grabbed one of these puppies, this little workbook, so you'll be working in it throughout the session today. This will also be available on the givelocalmissoula.org website on the About page. That's where all of your resources are for nonprofits. And you also might want this beautifully printed draft list of prize challenges. So prizes, but they're challenges. So some of them are not filled in, but some of them are. I just wanted you to get what we knew we were going to be doing so that you can get started planning with that. And I just wanted to thank the Missoula Federal Credit Union for being our premier sponsor for Give Local Missoula County and for hosting our boot camps. It's just a wonderful space, so thank you very much, Credit Union. So I wanted to thank our Nonprofit Relations Committee for putting these together. We've got Erin Steele of United Way of Missoula County and Caroline Lauer of the Missoula Community Foundation. So thank you to us. So just to reiterate what our goals are this year, this is the campaign goals for Give Local Missoula County. We want to raise $300,000 from 3,000 donors in 24 hours. And something that I've added, and I don't think anybody else knows yet, but that I would like us to get 100% board giving, because if we have board members give, our numbers are going to boost up. I think you all would be pretty happy if 100% of your board members gave, so let's just add that as a goal. We also would like to beat the cats. Yes, Liz.
On the board member giving thing, how will the persons logging on be able to see that percentage or the names of the board members or something?
It's really so it's kind of an internal thing. So when you sign up for the Best Overall Campaign contest, which I'll talk about, you'll provide the number of board members. We're also going to, once you've signed up, we're going to ask you for the names of the board members. And then once the event is over, you have the link, you will have the link all throughout the day to find out who your donors are. We'll also have that, and so that we can verify the roster versus the people who donated. So that's how we'll figure that out.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that's a great example. If you have any questions, just jump in and we'll get to you. So I was mentioning we would like to beat the cats. We've got Bozeman. They raised $237,000 last year. That was fantastic. They came pretty close. They were ahead of us most of the day. We did pull it out, but I just would like us to beat them if possible. And one thing that we're trying to do to spark that friendly competition among communities is I'm going to be meeting with Mayor Engen actually on Monday, Leap Day, and we're going to talk about a mayor's challenge. So I'm hoping that he will issue a challenge to the Bozeman mayor to see which community can raise the most money and who can get the most donors. Bridget, my friend in Bozeman, is reaching out to the athletic department over at MSU to see if we can get some sort of Grizz-Cat rivalry going, and I just think that will just bring more attention to our day as a whole and just get more people excited and involved. We are also trying to raise $1 million for Montana in one day. We have Montana Community Foundation has put together a website. It's mtgives.org if you want to check it out. But it starts with donate. I think it's like donate. Anyway, you could look up Montana Gives, and you can see the communities. Other communities that are participating are Anaconda, Billings, the Bitterroot Valley, Columbus, Flathead, Gallatin Valley, Bozeman, Glendive, Helena, Laurel, Miles City, and Missoula. So this effort that we started here in Missoula a few years ago now is statewide, so it's pretty exciting. And our theme this year and hopefully going forward is celebrating community. So that can mean anything you want it to. You can go wild with that theme and really try to play it up. You could ignore it completely. It's really up to you. But I just want you to know that's out there. Another thing that is really exciting and fun is the Best Overall Campaign Contest. Many of you are probably already signed up, but let me get a show of hands. Who's already signed up for the... Excellent. Great. So the rest of you should sign up. We have about 20 organizations signed up right now, and it is divided in 3 categories: small, medium, and large. And we will be awarding a prize, a $500 prize, to winners in each of those 3 categories. And fingers crossed, I'm hoping that the Community Foundation Board will approve a second place prize as well at $250 in the 3 categories. So this campaign is just being set up really to help you do what you already should be doing, and some of you are already doing, and to reward you for that. Because the more that you all do to make a great campaign, the better and bigger giving day we're going to have. And so to sign up, all you need to do is go to the givelocalmissoula.org website, to the About page. That's the page for you guys. Remember that. And you can sign up there. And there's also a list of ways that you can win, or get points, I should say, which I did not print up a bunch of them, but it is also on the About page, and I will be referring to them a little bit in our presentation. Another thing that we're starting today, or this year, I'm also really interested in getting businesses engaged and involved with Give Local, and so we've got a 100% challenge for businesses. So we're just developing this program right now. I don't even have anything written up about it, but we're trying to get businesses to encourage 100% of their employees to give, and starting with businesses of 5 employees or more, and they can sign up, and if they achieve 100% employee giving, they're going to get recognition, different types of recognition, not exactly sure what yet, but we will, really try to recognize them for their efforts. So if you know any businesses, you might want to put that little bee in their ear about that. That's going to be coming up. Yeah, and the Board of Directors Challenge, which I did mention, and you will be, if you get 100% board giving, you will get 50 extra points in your Best Overall Campaign Contest. As well, I am considering seeing if we can award prizes to every nonprofit that gets 100% board giving, but I'm thinking like $100 for 100%, something like that. Not finalized yet, but I am looking into it. See if I can pull this off. We have a video project coming up that I wanted to tell you all about. And in order to explain kind of what it will be like, I'm going to show you a video from our first year that we had Give Local.
These are the faces of Missoula's nonprofits. They clean our lands, take care of our children, promote our arts, and lend a helping hand. Give Local Missoula is on May 6th. This is the day that everyone can become a philanthropist. You can help us reach our goal of $100,000. You can give back by donating online or at donor lounges for 24 hours to the nonprofit of your choice. Thank you, Missoula.
I know you couldn't hear that, but the idea being that you don't have to speak. There's going to be voiceover. Stop, don't keep going. Sorry. So really, all you need to do is, we're going to be shooting on, well, hopefully next Thursday, I think it was, March 3rd and the 10th. And so for $25, you sign up, and you can be part of, kind of like that was a compilation where your own nonprofit wasn't featured, but you were part of a group, and that we will be putting on TV stations. We'll be using that kind of as our PSA. And if you wanted to have your own, it's going to be 30 seconds so that it will fit in a PSA slot. If you want your own, you could pay $50. It's going to look very much the same, have the same look and feel to it, but it'll be your own individual. And if you decide, if you start out thinking you want to do a $25 one as part of the group, but then you decide that you'd rather have an individual one, you can make that decision, because really all you need to do is bring the group of people that you want to be part of it to the Roxy at the time slot that Caroline will assign to you. It'll take about 10 minutes, and they'll take a picture, probably several pictures of you, and then you'll go about your day, and then they'll produce the video, and then you'll get the video probably at the beginning of April. And you can use it any way you want. Social media, put it on your website, put it on your YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel that we'll put it on. We'll promote it for you as well. So any questions about the video project?
If you do your own, so do we come for the script, or is there somebody going to be there, or just is this going to be people and pictures and that's it?
It's just people and pictures, and if you want to do something more creative on your own, you're absolutely welcome to, but we won't be doing that. Yeah. Karen.
2 questions I've been hearing from all of you, so maybe Meredith can address it for the larger audience. The first one is, if you purchase your own video, is it just that photo for 30 seconds, or is there a little bit more to it? Just because it seems a little static to have just a group of people and then the voiceover still.
That's a good question. That is something Mike Steinberg from the Roxy is the person I've been conceptualizing it with, and we haven't thought about that, but I think what we could probably do is have you submit a few photos that could be also used as well. I mean, I think we can work around it so it's not a really boring thing.
And then the second question I've been hearing from you as well is that, as you all know, some of the categories that you've specified yourself as are much larger than others. For instance, animals has a handful and social services has a ton. So how will that be handled as well, in terms of, if you're a part of social services, are you going to get a lot less time than someone who's in animals?
Good question. So we would just do 4 or 5 groups per video. So if there are, 20 groups in one category, human services, we'll just break them up. And so there'll be several short, several videos instead of everybody in one. Does that make sense? Betsy?
On the $25 one, is it just me standing there, or will they denote my agency?
They will denote your agency, definitely. Yeah. Just like they did in that video. It had I think it had your website too. Yep, Carolyn.
$50 one, is it a picture of everybody in your particular group?
It's everybody who comes to the photo shoot at the Roxy. Yeah. Anything else? All right. What do next I have? Oh, another thing I wanted to mention that's new this year is the community giving celebration that we're going to have on May 25th in Caras Park. This is going to be to celebrate our success and hopefully our meeting or exceeding the $300,000 and $3,000 donor level. It's a free event that you can invite your donors to. You can come to, you're encouraged to come to. You can actually earn points for the best overall campaign even on that day by bringing people to the event. We'll be recognizing businesses, donors, nonprofits. We'll be, giving you your checks. I mean, it's bands and music and food. It's going to be beverages. It's going to be a lot of fun. And another way to engage your donors, which we'll be talking about. So there'll be a lot more information coming out about that, but just want you to get that on your calendar as well. It's a Wednesday, and hopefully we'll have beautiful weather for that.
What's the date?
Wednesday, May 25th.
What time?
Like evening, not exactly sure, probably like 5 to 8, something like that. Yeah. Oh, and I was hoping to get this put together for now, but we did not. So there will be a calendar of important dates that we posted on the Give Local website on the About page so that you can see what's coming up. So, coming to a close of this introductory part, I just wanted to thank our other sponsors, including the Good Food Store, First Interstate Bank, Montana Community Foundation, Noceum Foundation, and the Missoula Fresh Market. So with that, we begin our presentation. And yes,
Quick question.
Michelle.
For the photo and the for Monday?
For the Independent, yeah.
Is that a color photo that you want, or is that?
I believe, is it a color photo for the Independent?
Color. It will be printed in newsprint though, so you can submit black and white if you personally think it would look better in
So you're
newsprint.
not going to print it in color?
They'll print it in color,
Oh, okay.
but it's not like a glossy insert, if that makes sense. So some people think that color doesn't look as good on that.
Thank you. And is that something that we upload to your site, or do we just email it to you?
You can email it to me because we've been having problems downloading it. They've been downloading too small for independence clarity issues, so just email it to me.
Okay, thank you.
I'm glad you brought that up because the deadline for getting your information to us, because we need to get it to the Independent, is Monday the 29th. And we do have 120 spots for the Independent insert, and we're at about 105?
107.
107. So if you haven't gotten that to us, please do.
Is that Monday, the 29th of March?
Nope, February.
Oh, I was going to say, okay, thanks.
Yeah. Leap day, my husband's birthday, by the way. Carolyn, did you have a question? Or? Okay. Anything else before we launch? Okay, so our presenters. I've introduced us already. So what we'll cover today, which we've already covered some of it, the best overall campaign competition, the video project, an overview and timeline in terms of our work plan, best practices we'll review, and since I apologize that the donor engagement bootcamp did not happen, humblest apologies to that, but we will spend a little bit extra time on that today. And we'll do a breakout session. I understand the feedback from the board engagement bootcamp was that the breakout session was something that was a highlight for some of you all. We will also do a share and discuss activity and report out and discussion, and then questions and answers. So, start out. So why 8 weeks? Well, really, if we start, why do we have this work plan for 8 weeks? We probably don't want to start too much earlier because people will get sick of hearing from you if you start talking to them too early. And of course, if you have a plan, you're more organized. Sometimes I don't know where I get these things, but it's like 80% of nonprofits do better if they have a plan. Something like, you know what I mean. But the timing on this is very important. So the first 4 weeks of your work plan will be planning. And then the second 4 weeks will be implementation. And in terms of marketing, so the first 5 weeks will be really soft. You're not going to be very direct with people about it. It's more a blurb in your e-newsletter or in your newsletter. But then when it starts to get to be the heavy time, it's more focused and direct and help us with Give Local, that kind of thing. So there's a little calendar. So early April to early May. So those last 3 or 2.5 weeks are really your heavy marketing time. So during your soft marketing, you're doing your save the dates, casual communications. If you have things that are getting ready to go out in the next couple months, you might want to either include it in there or maybe do an insert. We have our annual report that's going out that I did leave some examples, but we have Give Local free front and center because that is what we do, but maybe you want to do a little insert if your annual report's coming out soon. Invites to events, and just light social media. So, yeah. So Give Local focused like 2 to 3 times per week on social media in those first times. Also, one thing I want to mention is you don't have to think about all of the content yourself. We will be, Give Local and Missoula Community Foundation will both be posting a lot, and so you might simply want to share, comment on the content that we're putting out. And I would also encourage you to like Facebook pages of other nonprofits that are participating, and particularly, ones that maybe are similar in mission to what you do, or ones that you think are very creative or are doing a good job. Share the love and share the content. You don't have to make it all up yourself. So, those second 2 weeks, your communications are direct. You might want to send out an appeal letter at that time. Been considering, I'm adding another appeal letter this year. I'm not just doing it end of the year. So do I do it before I give local? Maybe in my case, I might want to do it after, if we have a lot of good success, but you might want to do an appeal letter, a postcard. This is something that we put out last year to our mailing list, and it's easy to be a superhero for your favorite nonprofits by, and it gives the steps of what you need to do. Go to givelocalmissoula.org, check out our community's wonderful nonprofits, find and give to your favorite nonprofit. So it's kind of the steps, and then on the back I've got a checklist of all of the nonprofits that are participating. I haven't decided whether I'm going to do something just like this again, but probably will do something similar. So that's helpful to all of you, but you might want to do a postcard, focused simply on yourself in those last 2 weeks before the event. So we have checklists. Here we have our work plan. And if you go to page 8, I believe, the formatting might have changed, but yeah, that's where your first checklist starts. So this is something, from page 8 on is really, we might have time for you to work on it here, but it might not. So, week 8 is checklist. Here's what you should be doing. Set weekly meetings with your staff or volunteers who will be assisting. Make sure you have completed filling out your plan, et cetera, et cetera. And then down at the bottom, it's got your task, your staff member that will complete it, the status, and any notes. And, it's in planning, communications, donor engagement, board engagement. So it's very nicely organized for you. Just wanted to point that out. Before we move on to best practices. And so with that, you can turn back to the front and we'll be talking about best practices. So we have goal setting, which many of you have already set your goals, but maybe you want to revisit them, maybe you want to add some goals that you hadn't had before. And as we speak about these different best practices, we'll be talking about all of them. You might want to jot down some notes, so that for the first one, goal setting, there are questions and then space for notes underneath it, so you can take some notes there. We've got also board engagement, donor engagement, know your audience, which is part of donor engagement, social media, and then maximize your communication channels. So, and one thing I also wanted to mention, so we have it in our schedule to have a little discussion later on. And so as we're going through these best practices, if you can think about if there's any practices or any activities with those practices that maybe you tried last year but didn't work so well, things that you'd like to improve on, maybe, since we've been talking about board, maybe your board didn't all give. And you like them to, or maybe they did give, but they didn't contact any of their network. So just kind of be thinking about those sticky issues, and we'll see if we can try to maybe solve those together later. Yep, Liz.
You talked 2 weeks ago about you were going to produce something, sort of cut and paste, here's what you do to do what kind
instructions.
of networking that we would give our boards.
Like messaging and that, yes.
And going to come soon, because you give
Yep.
a board meeting once a month.
Yes. Yep, that is the messaging document with sample Facebook posts and emails and tweets. That will be coming out soon in the next couple weeks.
And I'll just add, Emily from the Humane Society last session, right there, talked about having screenshots to guide your board through donating as well. So Kimbia is currently building that site, and there might be a few tweaks to it. So instead of using the last one and risk potentially confusing board members or having them think that they're at the wrong site, I'm just waiting for them to build it, but it should be there soon. I'm hoping to have it up by next week.
Yeah, any other questions or comments before we move on to our first best practice? And Erin will take us through goal setting.
Right, so goal setting. So how many of you have set your goals for Give Local? Yeah, a few. If you sign up, when you sign up for the best campaign, you have to at least put in something into the form. So if you're like me now, you have to remember what you put and go back and figure out if that's really the goal I want to have. But so if you set goals, why did you set a goal?
So that I have something to go for.
Yes. Okay, I put our goals in because I wanted to sign up for the best campaign, and that's part of the form, so you got to do it. So why do we really want to set a goal? Say it again.
To achieve something.
To achieve, yes, so we know. What gets measured gets done, right? Does anybody else work like that? So I do really well if I have a committee where I have to meet with them and there's somebody asking me, how's it going, then I can get stuff done. If nobody cares, then it's really easy to move it to the end of the pile. So we want to set goals for Give Local so that at the end, on May 3rd, we can all be celebrating, because then we'll have something to be really excited about once we've set our goals. So that's kind of where we're coming from. And so there's lots of goals that we could set. We can set financial goals. How much money do you want to raise for your organization on May 3rd? We can set donor goals. How many people do you want to get to donate to your organization? You can't, do you have a goal for securing those matching funds ahead of time? I think we've talked about the matching funds a couple times in these sessions. So what do you want to get? Are you going to be excited if you get 500 in matching? Are you really going to go for 1,000? What do you want to have happen? And if you know what you want to have happen, then you can figure out how to get there, right? Then all of a sudden the work plan makes a lot more sense. And then always, you guys are really good at how are we going to measure that? You've had lots of questions. Well, how can I know? How can I know? So the easy thing about the money goal is you can tell on the leaderboard how much you're raising and how close you are to your goal. You can always also tell on how many donors. So Kimbia and the Give Local make it really easy to track those kind of goals when you're ready. And then that also helps you, communicate with your board and your donors what your goals are, and then they can help you achieve them. So there's tons of goals that you can choose. How do you know how many? How many goals are how many is too many? How many is the right number? Do what makes sense for you. For me, 2 or 3 is kind of the sweet spot, right? Like for us, we have a dollar goal and a donor goal, and that's kind of going to drive where we are, and that's going to help me too on May 3rd. Looking at the leaderboard, I'll know how are we doing. Oh my gosh, we have 10 more donors than was our goal. We've met that, but we still haven't raised as much money. So what should I do? I should ask all the people who donated to ask their friends to donate too, because we're so close to that goal. 2, 3 goals. If you only have one goal, is that bad? No, never. If you can get that kind of focus and clarity, then that's awesome and you're rocking it. But if you want to have 2 or 3, that's totally doable too. So you want to pick those ones that make sense. Now, how many of you have done Give Local before? Yeah, okay. So what I did when I went to set my goals, I went back and looked at last year. How much money did we raise? How many people gave it to us? And then I, think through, how can I beat last year? What can I do better than last year? And, for us, honestly, if we raise a little bit more money and we raise it from several more people, that's going to be success. So for us, I increased the number of donor goals more than I did the money goal, because that's what's going to be important. We had a couple of large gifts last year, a couple $1,000 donors, which is really big for Give Local. So, that was awesome and exciting. But if it doesn't repeat, we really want to get in front of more people. So you can look at last year, kind of think through your overall strategy for your organization, your strategic plan, those things, what makes sense, and how can Give Local fit into where you're taking the organization in general. It doesn't have to be a completely standalone thing. Give Local can really support the other goals that you have at work and for your organization. And then you also want to think about, what do you want? And do you want to get gifts from new donors? Do you want to get gifts from your returning donors? And why do we want to think about that? Does it matter?
You need to make new contacts.
Yes. Well, and if my goal is to engage my returning donors, then I need to probably do a lot more up front, right? I need to be sending postcards, sending emails, reaching out to the people, to our current donors to get them to return. If I really want to get new people, then I need to be asking my current donors to ask their friends, right? So it changes the strategy based on what you want to do. And you just want to think through what are all of your opportunities. And we've talked about board engagement. That's a huge opportunity. Low-hanging fruit, right? Everybody knows how you're going to get your board to give, so don't forget to include that in your goals. All right, any questions before we move? Speaking of board engagement, look at that. It's almost like we planned it. All right, any questions about goal setting before we kind of keep moving forward? I'm not trying to rush us, but you guys know you guys know that setting goals is a good idea, so. All right, so as you think about your board and all that we talked about at our board engagement boot camp, which I see several of you were there. If you weren't, the reminder that the PowerPoint for all the boot camps, the presentations, and any of the handouts are up on the givelocalmissoula.org/about page. If you just scroll down a little bit, you'll see boot camps, and then you can click and get the PowerPoints and any of the handouts, like when we did the board individual development plan and things like that. So remember, I downloaded the social media one today for my colleague who was sick the day that we had the boot camp, because I want her to have all that information. So it's all up there for you. You can go back, remind yourself. So with your board, 100% board engagement. Who's thinking about a 100% goal? Okay, who's for sure that you want to do a 100% goal? All right, awesome. Let's do it, right? Let's have a goal. So there's not, and the leaderboard, which Meredith talked about, the leaderboard's not going to show if you have 100% board participation. So it's going to be you and your board. That's who's going to know whether you have 100% or not. Well, Meredith will know too, but she's not going to remember any year, right? She's not going to remember if that was my goal and I failed, right? Like, so there's no loss. You might as well try to get 100% board participation, and it's low-hanging fruit. You guys know why boards are so important. And what else are you asking your board to do? You can keep going through that 8-week work plan. We're on best practice 2, board engagement. And then, we can make it easy for our boards to participate. We can, there's all the social media aspects, which they can. So Meredith and Caroline will post something on Facebook. We as a nonprofit, we can go share it. Your board members can just go share it then from your page as well. So everybody wins, and nobody has to spend a lot of time doing any of it. So it can really be turnkey and helpful to your board members. And it really is their chance to support your organization, right? I know we had a board meeting this week, and everybody wants to know, what can we do? How can we help you more? Well, if you can take 10 minutes, 20 minutes on May 3rd, get online, check out Give Local Missoula, make your donation, share it on Facebook, ask your coworkers. It's a short list of things that you can ask them to do, and they're gonna appreciate it. They're gonna want to do it. So it's a great best practice for us all. If we all get several of our board members giving, that leaderboard is just gonna go crazy, right? All right. Okay, so questions about board engagement before I turn it back to Meredith? Yes.
I know it's going to vary with every board, but I'm on a couple of them. And frankly, like all boards, the board doesn't want to get involved in raising money. Do you have some tricks for making this fun? I mean, I like the buttons and all that kind of stuff. That's cool. But you're sitting in a meeting, 2 hours worth of work to do in an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. How do you? You're going to help us know how to do it in 10 minutes?
So, well, the other thing that you can do is your board, you can invite them to take advantage of some of the other activities that are happening. So I think we've talked before about we're going to do the launch party at Plonk, and they're going to have a drink coupon for people who donate. So if your board doesn't want to help fundraise, maybe whose board in Missoula doesn't like to drink? I don't know. So, maybe they want to come down to Plonk and make their donation and get a free cocktail. And then they're not actually, I mean, they are helping you fundraise, but you're kind of tricking them into it. Not in a bad way, but you know, you're making it a little bit, you're not asking them to pick up the phone and ask anybody for money, because that's what they don't want to do. And so with Give Local, we're not asking them to call and ask for donations. We're just asking them to participate individually. And if they feel comfortable, maybe they can share it on Facebook or Twitter, wherever they are on social media, because they're all on social media, even if they tell you they're not. They're at least looking at their pictures of their grandkids, right?
And you could set up a little competition to see, who can get the most donors. I mean, it's only $10. I mean, I think that, sure, it's really daunting to ask for, a lot of money, but I mean, $10 I think is pretty easy for most people. So, okay, the board member that can get the most donors gets a gift card or something, or even, I don't know, depending on how your board is, if you've got board members that might be competitive with each other, there could be some sort of a challenge, like, I challenge you, I think I can get more donors than you, and if not, maybe, I'm thinking about this Grizz Cat rivalry thing, like if we win, then the Bozeman mayor has to win or wear UM colors, or, I mean, there could be some sort of fun competition among board members, for the number of donors, so then it's not about the amount of money.
That's a great idea.
Are there any other ideas or suggestions out there about how to get your board engaged in a fun way?
Get them to come to your events. I know several of us are setting up like donor lounges and things like that, and maybe they want to engage in that aspect. So we have some of our board members who, they might not be the biggest donors, but they really love to come to events and be able to talk and chat and just volunteer and do things like that. So a lot of times asking them what, again, their strengths are, going back to that and getting them involved in those fun things. So not all engagement has to be monetary. It can also be, getting them to have some fun with the day of events, or like you say, just getting a whole crew of them to get together and hang out at Plonk for an hour.
Yeah, we're going to have lots of donor lounges where people can go at all times of day. So if you don't have people that want to come out at midnight to help us kick it off, maybe they want to come at 5 o'clock to Plonk and do the happy hour, or, there's lots of other opportunities. I think.
Breakfast spots?
Not yet. I mean,
Coffee drinkers in this town.
yeah. Well, we do have the Florence as our headquarters, and we will be open there at 8 o'clock, and we will be live broadcasting from there at different portions of the day, and I will be asking Posh if they might donate some coffee. So that will be a morning spot that we'll have.
So there'll be a lot more opportunities, Liz, as we go forward.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay.
How to make a game out of it.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about board members that haven't given yet to organizations. We got ours engaged the first year by asking them to take a portion of what they normally give during the year and give it at that time. So it was kind of an introduction to, here's what we're going to be doing. You normally give this money anyway. Could you give it at this time? And it turned out to be more successful than we thought it would be, because then they were interested in how much we were raising, and I think a couple people even gave another gift.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering, because what we don't want Give Local to do is just replace giving at other times of the year. We want them to give
Right.
twice.
More.
So
It was just
At
a way to get them engaged in the
Uh-huh.
actual event,
Yeah.
why we were doing it, and it was really successful.
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, and something else that Teresa does, which I always want to copy, is she is really clear about which prizes you're trying to go for, and then sharing that on social media. So that's another way to get at your next board meeting, you can have the list of prizes will be ready soon, and you can have that, you can say, I think we should try for this one and this one. What do you guys think? Get their buy-in. Then they're going to help you, they'll help you win those prizes as well. Or what are they called? Challenge awards?
Yes. No, you're saying it right. It's gone through so many different iterations. Yeah, and for example, we've got challenges, nonprofit with the most donors between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. That might be a really good one to go for if you've got some night owl board members. But just to really talk about this kickoff at Plonk. So I just kind of made this one up. So it's nonprofit with the most donors at Plonk Donor Lounge. So this is the nonprofit, this is from 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. right at the beginning. The nonprofit that receives the most unique donations in the first hour of Give Local Missoula County and has representation at Plonk. Announcement at 1:05. So if you can, it doesn't have to just be board members, it could be, this is kind of bleeding over into donor engagement, but the more people that you can get, and plus you get points for your campaign by bringing people to the donor lounges. And I think it's for the ones that are really late, it's like 3 or 5 points. It's more than just 1 point. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so kicking off at midnight on, Monday, May 2nd, Plonk will be offering a free drink to everyone every time they donate. So you could donate $10, get a free drink, $10, get a free drink.
That's not bad. It's $6 drinks.
I know, those drinks are pretty pricey. Yeah. And Bozeman will also be doing the same thing, and we will have a screen up showing the leaderboard for Missoula and Bozeman. So we'll have this, they have a Plonk in Bozeman. That's how I got the idea, is Bridget did donor lounges last year, and I heard about that one particular, and so then I met with Ben, and I was like, yes, we can set up the screens, we can have dueling Give Locals, and we will also have one at Plonk from 5 to 6 p.m., which is happy hour, and we'll still have the dueling TVs. So that is one fun way to get not just board members but other donors engaged. But I saw that there was a question. Carolyn?
Do you have more copies of that sheet?
Yeah, they are in the back here. I don't think nope, they're all gone. Yeah, I will have it posted on the website. Yeah, but we have first donor's choice. This is something that we've had all 3 years. We have last donor's choice. Focusing a lot this year because what I really want to see is 3,000 donors. Because I think if we have 3,000 donors, we will raise $300,000. So a lot of the prizes are focused on number of donors. We will still have some donor's choice, like under 40, donors under 40, because we are, trying to get those younger donors. Here's one. From 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., the Florence Donor Lounge Donor's Choice Golden Ticket. It's a random drawing of donors at the Florence Donor Lounge who gave since the beginning of Give Local. So they just have to prove that they've given at some point during Give Local in those first almost 12 hours. Must be present to win live drawing at noon. So that will be a fun one as well. And we'll fill in with other prizes that we haven't figured out what they are going to be yet. And if you have any brilliant ideas for prizes, let me know. And some of the prizes nonprofits will be able to earn before Giving Day. We'll have a couple, and then a couple that will be able to be earned after Giving Day. So still working on how that will all play out. But other questions, comments about, yeah?
With the donor lounge, do they have to go during those hours to get the free cocktail, or is it any time during the day when they donate?
It varies by donor lounge. And we'll have a list of all of the lounges and everything about any limitations. So for example, the Plonk it's only during those hours that the donor lounge is open that those benefits are available. So that's a very good question. We'll make sure that people know if it's an all-day thing or if it's just during the hours that the donor lounge is open. So we're still working on that.
When are you going to come out with that list? That is to say, when do we have to get the information to you to get on it?
If you want to have a donor lounge? Yeah, and thank you for saying that. Because as nonprofits, you can also host donor lounges yourself. And so for the independent, in order to get listed in the independent, we have to have that information by March 20th. So if you want to be a donor lounge, and I've got at the back, it's creative ways for your business to give. It's a little misleading, but it kind of explains how businesses could get involved. So if you know any businesses who might want to get involved, please take one. But on the third page, it's the Donor Lounge sign-up form. So we're asking Donor Lounge name, contact person, all that information, Donor Lounge hours, and donor incentives. So if you have any incentives for donors, I'll just get your question in just a second. Any restrictions on incentives? So, like if it's the first 100 somethings or while supplies last, make sure we know what those restrictions are. Will you staff the Donor Lounge? Will you provide volunteers, which we would expect you to do if you're a nonprofit? Will you provide a tablet or a computer for people to donate, which hopefully you can do, although a lot of people will donate on their phone? Will there be entertainment or an activity at the Donor Lounge, which I encourage? And if yes, please explain. So I saw there was a question. Yes?
Where can we get a copy of that?
You can get one from me, and you will also be able to get it on the About page of Give Local.
Is it on there right now?
No, it is not. So there's a lot that I need to put up there. And Jesse, did you want to talk about the Donor Lounge that you and Emily are cooking up?
Yeah, so we got together last week, and one of my coworkers does a lot of volunteering out at the Humane Society, so we got together and kind of thought that it would be fun to have an event out there that was at the fort. Yeah, sorry, I'm the Historical Museum at the fort, if no one knows that already. So we got together and we decided to do a donor lounge, but also kind of throw off an adopt-a-thon, because who can turn down fuzzy puppies and kittens? And we're also going to have some food carts and things like that, because the fort does have a large group of people just in the general area, so we're really targeting our actual campus. So there's several hundred to 1,000 people out there between community medical, so we actually are really focusing on that core group of people to come out, grab some lunch, hug a puppy, and donate. There will be raffle prizes and some incentives with the food carts, where if you donate, you'll get like a free drink or something like that. So we're hitting around the 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock lunch hour time, and so we're hitting people's stomachs, hearts, stress levels, and just all those things. So in addition to the actual donation, donor lounge aspect, we're trying to make it a little bit more funner in general, more so instead of just saying, come to our place and give us money, we're trying to give them incentives to actually want to come out, hang out, learn more about us, learn more about the Humane Society, that kind of thing.
Thanks.
Anything to add there, Emily?
No, I was just going to say it's a super awesome opportunity for us to collaborate with another nonprofit, and we're both kind of out there, not always the most convenient stop, so we're going to try to make it easy and fun for people to make a lunch date of it.
And that's a great idea. So if you all have nonprofits that are maybe close to you in location or in genre or type of work that you do, you might want to collaborate on that. And or you might want to collaborate with a business. If there's a business that you work a lot with, you might want to approach them and see if they would want to host a donor lounge, like co-host with you. And then that's kind of like your donor lounge. But if you're going to do that, I guess maybe you could let me know beforehand if possible, because I do have asks out to lots of different businesses. Just be good for me to know. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it, but it'd be good. So then I'm not asking them if you've already made an arrangement with them. But I saw somebody had a hand up somewhere.
I just wanted to say one thing on how this all came to be is we're all very busy, but a lot of our people who work with ourselves, our coworkers, board members, that kind of stuff, a lot of them also do volunteer work out there. So it was great that one of our coworkers was a huge volunteer at the Humane Society, so she was able to really open that door too and get it going. So ask your coworkers, ask your board if there are groups out there that you think they can work together, because then that can lighten the load off you, and that could also give something for your board to say, hey, here's an idea for a donor lounge or a partner or something like that. I've already got these connections. Go forth that way.
Excellent. All right.
All right, are you guys ready to talk about donor engagement?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. All right. So, this is something that you all know about. You know how important it is. You do it all the time, but let's just talk about it again. But just a quick show of hands. So how many of you depend on individuals as your main source of revenue? Wow. So most of you don't. That's very fascinating. Well, according to the Chronicle of Philanthropy, you're a little unusual. But that's good. We're Missoula, that's really great that maybe earned revenue is what you get. Anyway, nationally, 72% of revenue that comes to nonprofits is through individuals who are alive. 8% comes from gifts in will or bequests, so that's 80% total of revenue that comes into nonprofits is from individuals, so you all know how important it is to engage them. So some of the questions that you would need to be thinking of, so these questions correspond with your little workbook. So I don't know if you've been taking notes all along, but it's probably a good idea, to take notes. And then when you're making your plan, when you're on page 8 and beyond, then you can look back at your notes and see what you said. So questions are, how will you engage your current donor base? How will you thank your donors during May 3rd? So that is something that you can do, is thank your donors just even right on that day, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. And then what's your plan to thank your donors after May 3rd? So we will have an opportunity we'll be doing a group thank you. So on April 29th, which is the last Friday before Give Local, we're going to have a march. This is something we did last year. It was small but mighty, and I'm hoping this year it will be larger and mightier, where you can get points for being part of this march, dress up, maybe bring instruments, whatnot, but we will, I think this is what we'll probably do. We started at, near Rock and Rudy's Anderson Park, and we marched all the way down to the Iron Horse, but I think this time maybe we'll march to Karis Park, and then we'll go down there and we'll take a thank you photo, like we did at noon on Give Local Day, and then we'll also shoot just a very short thank you video, like 30 seconds and I have to make sure that we can technically do this, but that I'd like every donor to get after they donate. At least a photo, but maybe a little thank you video. So it'd be nice if y'all could be in it, and so then they'll see your shining faces. So, those are a couple of ideas. You could take a thank you picture, you can make a thank you video. I'm sure there's does anybody have any ideas or anything that you've already thought of that's a really great creative thank you?
Could you make people shape the words?
Oh.
Like hold up or do you mean like lie down and make the shape?
Lie down,
Oh, we could. Like you're a T, you're an A, or two people can be. Yeah, that's a good idea. We could do that, something really fun. Any other thoughts or ideas, creative thank yous? All right. And then, of course, how will you engage new donors? A little statistic that went by was, so in our first year, Give Local, we had 18% were new donors. Now, I'm not sure that the data was 100% correct, but from what I could gather, we had 18% of people who identified as new donors to the organizations that they're giving to. And then in 2015, it was 48%. So huge jump, huge opportunity. So what are you doing to engage those new donors that you're having? One thing that I've been talking about it for months and I need to do is put together a new donor welcome packet. Do any of you have that? Raise your hand if you have a new donor welcome packet. Betsy? What's in it?
Well, it's a letter from me and our latest annual report thing, and we were talking about this little button and a bag.
Do you already do the button in the bag, or are you just thinking about it?
Yeah, we have those.
Yeah. So, you know, if you have merch, if you have that, you can include that in a welcome packet, but it doesn't have to be that complicated, you know. As Betsy was saying, it was a letter, annual report, you know, just maybe a couple different things. Maybe if you have a sticker or something like that, but get it out to those donors when they're new. And something else that I'm thinking about doing, and I think the Art Museum did this last year, was you try to take your new donors and convert them into monthly donors. Because, and it's kind of counterintuitive, but I've been reading that, you know, the best time to ask a new donor for a new gift is within 2 months after they've made that first gift. So you get them in, they're excited, it's Give Local, they, you know, maybe they just went to the website and they just thought that you looked interesting, and now they need to know who you are. So you give them that nice welcome packet. You might not ask for them to become a monthly donor then, or you might. Some people do it, you know, either way, but let's say you do the packet and then maybe a couple weeks later you do an ask for them to be a monthly giver, and then you get them into the fold and they give way more money. You know, monthly givers give so much more, and then you have them. Retention rate is for monthly givers obviously way more. I think it was, I don't know. I don't want to give you the wrong statistics, but as we know, it's sometimes hard to retain those new donors. So, is Maria here, or anyone from Garden City Harvest? Maria. All right, I hope that I can get this to work. Oh no.
You click on the photo.
Okay. No? Click on the photo. Can you help? Thank you. Nope. So this is to inspire you. This is the best example of donor engagement that I've seen.
I think we're just going to pull it up.
Okay, that's good. It should be in that list. And it's Garden City Harvest, and what they did last year, and it's just brilliant. And if you haven't seen it, you're going to get to, and if you have, you get to see it again. Okay, so while that comes up, so with your donor engagement, you want to think about it as pre-event, day of, and post-event. And you know, part of, like I said, part of the reason we created this Best Overall Campaign contest is to help you with that. So I'm just going to go through the list of ways that you can earn points, and I will point out ways that donors can help you. So first is secure matching funds. So your donors can provide matching funds for you. And I think we've talked about before, hopefully you all understand how that works. The matching funds should be $500 or more. They can come in as a check so that the donor doesn't have to pay the fees, the online fees. You can put together, it doesn't have to be just one person coming up with the $500. Your board could come together and do that. So your donors can help you by providing matching funds. They can attend a pint night, which we've talked about, and that's one per person. So every person that attends a pint night and signs in under your name, you get a point for that. And if you post a picture with a hashtag, which is hashtag Give Local Missoula, you get a bonus 5 points. And so as I talked about, at the end of April, we will have a march, Friday, April 29th, just to kind of drum up interest in Give Local, being that it will be that upcoming Tuesday. You will get 1 point per person that you bring, and there are an extra 5 points for creativity. So if you dress up, bring a sign or a musical instrument, you get an extra 5 points per person.
Meredith, do you have 2 mics?
I do.
Okay, so you have one of theirs then?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do I?
Okay, so
I don't know which one is theirs. Sorry, guys. Is this yours?
Yes, that's me.
Oh, good. Great.
Is that information that Is that on the About page too?
Yes. They can participate in the thank you photo and or video that will be recorded on April 29th. They can share photos, videos, and social media posts with the hashtag #GiveLocalMissoula. They can volunteer at a donor lounge. They can attend the kickoff at Plonk. They can share photos taken on the day of the event. You get a point for each donor. They can attend the happy hour at Plonk. They can attend the closing party, which I think will be at Imagination Brewery from 6 to 8, but details TBD. Here's one where you can get 20 extra points if a donor makes a video for you and you share why I gave to X nonprofit on Give Local Day. And that would be something good for you to have. So those are some of the ways that donors can help you win the contest. We're almost there. So how about, while we're waiting...
Oh, no, we're ready.
We're not. Okay, we're ready.
We're never getting out.
Oops. We have the screenwriter right here. Congratulations. That was awesome. So what do you notice anything about that? Or is it effective? If so, why? Or?
It
Definitely use the music well. Just reading something about music and mental and how people have different reactions and emotions to different music.
Mhm.
Did really good with that.
Use music, yeah.
It was entertaining the whole time, like you wanted to keep watching all the way through to see what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about their mission, so you know what they do after you watch it.
Yeah.
They took a theme and just ran with it, just made it their own.
Yeah, there was a real story, there was a thread, there was conflict, there was drama, and then there was a solution. So is there anything you wanted to say about it, Maria?
It kind of happened because we missed out on getting the video made, and it presented an opportunity to do something we wanted to do, which was make a movie, which we might have just put off if we didn't have this happen. But it also is a really fun way to connect. Garden City Harvest has 19 sites all over town, and I work in the office, and I'm rarely out at the farms and gardens, and so it was a really fun way to spend time just connecting with some of the other staff at Garden City Harvest and be really goofy and work together on the project.
Yeah. We thought really hard about having a video contest. We decided not to this year, but to do the Best Overall campaign, but a video is a great way to convey, your message. And this was why I wanted to create this campaign, was because I wanted to reward the creativity of you guys, and you get an extra 25 points this year for that last year, so there you go.
What order of magnitude are we talking about on points? What do the big ones get right?
Well, this is the first year, so like you get 1 point per donor, you get 5 points for attending this boot camp, you get 50 points if you do the board member challenge.
Whatever the biggest one is, we'll get 2,000.
I don't know. It really depends. And we will recognize everybody that scores over a certain, just because you don't win doesn't mean you don't get recognized for trying, because I think it's great. Because this is all new. We're trying some new things, we're adding some things, and we're fine-tuning, and we'll see how it goes this first year, and we'll improve upon it. And certainly any feedback is welcome at any point. But did anything come up about donor engagement with that little video? So, okay, so we got, pre-day, the timing and methods are obviously important. Your communications plan, you might host a donor lounge, you might go to the donor lounge on the day of. Post follow-up plan, thanking obviously being your #1 priority. And then also follow up to show the impact of their donation. So, I love this video because it showed like the impact of not donating, but maybe there would be another one that showed like, well, look what happened. The farmers were freed, and we got to do this. So, think of creative ways of showing your impact. And then analyze your donor data, which this upcoming year we're going to try to collect more data than just who donated, when, how much, how many donors. So we'll be asking questions of donors and of nonprofits to try to get more information, but you still have some data that you can analyze. And so this is an important, and I don't know how to focus it, so I'm sorry if you can't really read it, but this was an email that you all, if you participated last year, received something like this. It's personalized. Hello, Missoula Community Foundation. Goals and whatnot. And so the important information. So when this comes into you, which will be sometime in April, it will say important, do not throw away, which people do anyway, and that's fine. We have the information, but so your donate URL. So this is the link that you will give to your donors, where they can just click on that and go right to your profile page. They can also go to the home page of Give Local Missoula and then look under the category and find you that way. But this is the link that goes directly to your profile page. And then very, very importantly is the #2 link is your report link. And so you This will be sent to I think the 2 co-captains probably, but at least the captain. And you want to be careful of who you share it with because it will contain your donor information. And so starting at midnight on at the very beginning of May 3rd, you'll click on that link and it constantly re-updates with donors. So you can thank your donors in real time. Probably not at midnight, you're probably not going to call them, but you might want to email. So, that's something that volunteers or board members can do, is that real-time thanking of donors, because, thank them early, thank them often, thank them sincerely. But so you can thank them, but you can also keep track of how much you're getting, who's given, if you're expecting people to donate who haven't yet, you get to a certain point of the day and you say, hey, so-and-so, get on the line. Are you planning on donating? Something that Forward Montana Foundation has done in terms of engaging their donors is they would ask people to sign up to donate at a certain time. So if they were going for a prize that was 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., let's say, or let's say middle of the day, 11 to noon, and you're signed up to give at that time and you haven't given yet, then they will remind you. So that's a great thing to do. And then, using that report, you can see if they have given or not. So before we move on, is there any questions about these links that you're going to be getting? Yeah, Fran.
It's not about the links, but
or anything.
We have some family members who are older, so they're very nervous about giving online. They think their information's going to be out there and stuff. So. So they can't do a check to say it's good local for the organization, or can they do a check? But are they,
yeah.
I know that the first year was only online.
Right.
So, but is there anything else on the donor page? I know it comes through the whole campaign, but I don't know if you guys do it. I mean, is there any way to say on there your information will not be shared or something just for privacy? So if somebody does it, because that's why we lost some donors for the Give Local the first year or second year, was because they thought they had to do it online and they were just nervous about their personal information. Sure, and I think it's the FAQ page that has all of that language about your information is secure. But really, if you just have some donors that really want to write a check, either try to get them to be part of your matching fund and get that check from them beforehand. I'd say that would be my #1 recommendation. But if they really do want to write that check, we did accept checks at at the headquarters. We will accept checks at donor lounges, but I can't guarantee that all of that will get on the leaderboard by the end of the day. So if they're going to do checks, I'd say bring them to the Florence building headquarters and try to get them there as early as possible. Yeah, Carolyn?
And is there a way to check what we did last year? Is that still?
In terms of like your list of donors?
I mean, I certainly have that information, but
I think it's,
is it still there?
I mean, I can look up a certain donor if they need a receipt, but I don't think I can get a list anymore. Once it turned over from post-event, when it was in November, when it was like, thanks for participating in 2015, up until that point, I could still get all that, but I'm pretty sure I can't. But Caroline, maybe we can check with Kimbia to see if we can get that. Yeah. Liz?
Does the donor link, where when you go to it, it tells you who your donor is and what their email address is, can you click on the email, or do you have to cut and paste it into your email?
I'm pretty sure you have to cut and paste it. Yeah. And if you have anonymous donors, they will show up as anonymous and then the amount that they gave. Any other questions or thoughts? Just keep a lookout, and please save the information. We'll probably send it a couple times.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Totally separate, but if I can ask, I don't forget.
Sure.
Do you know if American Express will be an option this year? I know it wasn't last year.
Right.
I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah. Can you write that one down, Lisa? Thanks. Yeah, good question. You know, in the past, we haven't accepted it because it's a higher rate, and we just wanted to offer one rate. Actually, Caroline won't know yet because we haven't finalized our credit card processor yet.
Okay, I just know we had several donors who didn't donate because it wasn't accepted, and I totally understand why it's not. But if we knew ahead of time, that might be helpful because we have to plan on a different form of payment.
Definitely. Yep, I can definitely have that information for you in the next couple weeks.
Thank you.
Great. Anything else out there? Okay. So here's a tip. And this is new this year. So on every page, it's not on your profile pages, but on the main pages, there's an email reminder that people can sign up for. So that's something you can direct your donors to. If you don't want to forget, sign up for the email reminder and it will come to you. And I'm not sure if it comes on the day or before the day, but it comes, I think it's probably on the day. So that's something good to do. Yeah. And before we go to our little breakout brainstorm session, just a way that I've started thinking, engaging donors, you know, so for larger dollar donors, more loyal donors, I've started sending them a little Valentine, which is kind of nice. You know, it doesn't take very long. I mean, you could buy cards, but you know, I just bought construction paper, cut out the hearts, and you know, you have the biggest heart, and then, you know, dear so-and-so, personal note, thank you very much, your donation means a lot. And I sent one to my mom, who's a donor, and I was talking to her on the phone the other day, and she said, oh, I just loved your card, it just was really sweet. And so, you know, just a thought, just a little thing that you could do to thank your donors when, you know, they might not be getting mail from you. So with this, we're going to put on our thinking cap, and Caroline is going to facilitate that for us.
All right, great. So everyone really enjoyed the board engagement breakout sessions. And if you haven't checked it out already, we have all of the great ideas that you came up with on that About page under the board engagement bootcamp. So you can check that out. That PDF is up there. So we have two options for how we're going to spend a little bit more time on donor engagement. If you turn to page 3, the questions on donor engagement, there are 4 main questions. So how will you engage your current donor base, how will you thank your donors during the day, after the day, and then how are you going to engage those new donors afterwards. So option number 1 is we can split into 4 groups, and you can choose the question that you most want to focus on today. And then we'll report out, so you'll be able to get all that information. But if you feel like there's a question you really want to focus on and spend some time on today, we can do that. Or we can break into 4 or 5 groups, and you will look at all 4 of those questions at one go, and then report out to the group at large. And what I think we'll do, regardless of what we decide, is if you want to just divide your paper when we get on the whiteboards and everything, do a brainstorm for those first 4 questions, and then think about the tools and resources you need to make those ideas happen. So if I can see a show of hands for splitting up question by question. Who would like to do it that way? Okay. Who would like to handle all the questions at once? Not everyone has voted. Let's try this again. You can all raise your hands, all right? I know it's 4:30, we're almost done. Okay, so first way, you want to do it question by question. So you'll go to a group that's dedicated to question 1. Okay. Who would like to look at all of the questions in their group? Okay, we almost had 100% participation, but not quite. So it's kind of an even split. We'll do it question by question. I think that's where at least the more enthusiastic voters were. So we've got, this is not a good sign for November 2016. Please go out and actually vote. So we've got paper over here with markers. So that will be, we'll do question number 1 over there. If you're really excited about thinking about engaging your current donor base, please go over there. I'm going to erase this one and move it into the center of the room for question number 2. And then we've got 2 whiteboards over here. We'll do it on this end for question number 3 and over there for question number 4. And there are whiteboard markers at each one. I'll clear away my stuff. So go to the question you want to deal with. We'll report out, so you'll get all of this information. And try to have a little bit of an even split, but we'll monitor that and move you around if we have to. Would like to to share first? Do we want to go in chronological order, or is someone really excited to share out about all the amazing ideas they had?
I can start.
You're going to start? All right, so we're going to start with number 1.
So the question is, how will you engage your current donor base? We had a variety of suggestions, and I'll just go through them and the resources at the same time. So invite people to the donor lounge, and to do that you need staff or volunteers. And how do you invite them? Use the way that they communicate, that their choice of communication. So email, regular mail, phone, social media, or newsletter. Thank them for their past donations and show them how that money was used during that initial contact. You can also send out remit envelopes. So for that, the tools that you need are postage and remit envelopes themselves. Postcards, like a save the date postcard. Handwritten thank yous, and that takes a lot of time. And so one suggestion was, if you have a high number of donors, you can set a dollar threshold for who you will send those thank yous to. So you maybe won't send thank you cards to people who give $20 or less, but you'll send thank you cards to people who give $50 or more, as an example. Creative thank yous. Meredith gave us an example of that already. What clientele can you use to help make those? In our example, we had one of our group members was from the Senior Citizen Center. Is that right? Yeah. And so maybe bringing the clientele who use that service, maybe those folks can help write those thank you notes. One of the things that I personally am doing that I shared with the group is when I run into people socially right now, I know we're not in like the heavy marketing time yet, but they say, you know, oh, I heard this Give Local is coming up again. How can I help with that? And so I've got this email that I send them, and it says, you know, first of all, thank you for donating last year. I don't explicitly ask them to donate. I tell them, I ask them to share with their friends that this event is coming up. Share posts on social media as they come up. If you're not a social media person, share on email. I encourage them to help engage a new donor base without explicitly asking them to donate. And then regular newsletter to members, set up a donor lounge with incentives, who will staff that, family members, social and lunch. Not sure.
Yeah.
Right. Again, that was the Senior Citizen Center. Maybe the donor lounge could be a social in the space that they already have. So,
Awesome, thank
yeah.
you. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts on number 1 that they want to share with the larger group right now? No? Okay, great. Can someone from number 2, question number 2, come up and explain their thought process?
Sure, so question number 2 was, looking at the wrong page, how will you thank your donors during the day of? So the first thing we talked about was real-time thank yous. And this is totally dependent on when the donor gives. So if they're giving right at midnight until 3 a.m., we're probably not going to call them, but we want to send them an email right then and there, and then transition into phone calls depending on what time of day it is. In order to do that, we talked about having one location, probably at your organization, and staffing it with either board members, volunteers, staff, and scheduling time blocks. So maybe it's a 2 or 3 hour time block where you're logged into can be watching it come in and shooting off that email or making that phone call as the donations come in to thank them. It's a personal touch, I think, is what we were going for there, and just, you know, we're not going to wait until the next day when they actually get their receipt or whatever. We also talked about posting the I gave or I gave local or something along those lines, like a virtual sticker on social media, and we thought that we could send that out with the email if that's the route we're going, so that they feel good about sharing that they donated, but then they're also, you know, kind of spreading the word. And obviously that's just going to take some sort of a graphic or a photo that they can post. We talked about doing a social media shout out where we're tagging our donors or thanking them by name on social media. A visual display of the donors, so if you're using cards, you know, maybe they're on a window in your office, and as the day goes on, it's filling up more and more, and that's something you could use obviously online, social media, via email, on your website. We talked about doing an at-organization celebration, so maybe every donation, or if you're getting a lot, maybe it's every benchmark, you ring a bell. I know we have a bell in our lobby, or you play a certain song. And then again, benchmarks on social media, so you're sharing, oh, we reached our first $100. Tools, I talked about having, you know, the volunteers are gonna need the login for Kimbia, so if you do that in one location, that makes it easier. And then maybe some snacks and beverages so that they are feeling good too, and they're not getting tired of doing the emails and the phone calls, especially if it's the graveyard shift. And then obviously you're gonna need volunteers and board members.
Great, thanks. Questions, comments?
I love that visual display idea. That was really cool.
The volunteer board members, what would they be doing?
They would be sending the email or making the phone call as the donations come in. So they'd be responsible for their real-time thank yous.
Great. Okay, question number 3.
Started actually with a comment from me because I thought I was on the wrong thing. I thought I was on Dale. Because a thing to add was maybe for some of the donors, texts or like pictures, texts or something like that. That's an instantaneous thank you for maybe the younger demographic or people like that who maybe don't want a phone call. So we talked about, you know, the standard emails. Green envelope is another email thing that I use a lot, that it looks like an actual envelope sending through the mail, and it opens up and people think it's really cool. But we talked about how the following up is, you know, it's always tough, but we're looking at like a personal follow-up at least within the next week, and make it personal. So if you want to do an actual cutout card, but going back to that, writing does take time, but still adding that personal touch, handwriting a note, doing a card, something like that, and that is where you can get your board, your volunteers, people like that engaged within the first week. And sending that out and making a note of how much they donated so that people know you're actually really focusing in on them. And then we talked about adding them to maybe like a month or two later, because it is going to be summer, people are probably going to be out and about doing lots of different things, but creating almost like a mini annual report. What was the word we used? Yeah, like an impact report of, so we made this with Give Local, make an actual report that says, because you donated and we made this much, we can feed this many animals, we can help this many kids, we can do these different things. So make it really specific to the actual amount that people donated on the day, and then send that out to them within the next month or two. And through that, of course, well, going back to the next week, invite them to the big event. Ask them to come down, and also mention that them coming down will get you more points, because if they come to the event and drink. And show results, picture, slideshow, infographic. That's kind of going back to that 1 or 2 months after the event. Create an actual visually pleasing something to send out to donors. Include to the community celebration, May 26th. Give special mission experience behind the scenes tours. So this is something that we do occasionally, and this would be something in the month to 2 month send out, in addition to that immediate send out, is if you can give them something that will engage them back with you, and not so much maybe physical, but maybe something that they can be invited out to an event, be invited out to a seminar or an education thing that you're putting on, or a behind-the-scenes tour, or something that kind of brings them back to your mission and helps get them more involved with you, because who knows, maybe there's like potential volunteers or long-term people that you didn't know of who are donating to you. So we did say thank you note the very next week, make it personal, and within either of those, a call to action. Like us on Facebook, which they probably already have, or like when we do send this out, maybe blending it with that, offering them something, creating a call to action for them to follow up with you or to think about you next time around. Put them on your email list, send them, or list in general, send them your annual report when it's ready, would be a big one, so that they can see, again, what their money did, what their money continues to do. Is there anything else I'm kind of missing through from number 3? Okay, and then resources, we talked about green envelope technology, kind of using the calls, text, Snapchat, whatever we use nowadays. Use the board to do these thank yous and follow-ups, and back to the handwritten is kind of huge anymore. I know I got one a couple weeks after my donation, and I was like, holy crap, someone actually wrote me something. So that's
Great. Any questions, comments?
Was it Greenvelope? Was the name of the?
It's spelled green envelope, so it's like green envelope. I don't know, it's just a really cool resource that I've been using, and I've been getting good feedback from across the demographics. It does cost money, but it's fun.
Is it kind of like paperless posts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right, group number 4. If you could share out for us.
So we talked about engaging new donors, and we started with social media. So we thought posting compelling photos and videos leading up to the event on our social media platforms. We talked a lot about which social media platforms we were utilizing. So whether it's just Facebook or Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, depending on our audience. Asking existing donors for assistance in kind of recruiting their friends, reaching out to their social networks, and engaging our volunteers who may not have given in the past to become givers to Give Local at maybe a lower level as kind of an introductory to donating to the organization. Maybe doing a friend raiser. So asking people who are currently involved in our organization to bring a friend in order to expand our social networks. And then as far as resources go, obviously having to get a location and a host, maybe doing that at a public place like a bar or a brewery, so that we don't have to worry about things like providing food and drinks and a location. And then we had kind of a clarification issue, whether these were donors who are new to Give Local but not new to our organization, or just completely new donors. So I think that's kind of this one. Some of us would just like to bring our current donor base in to start giving to us during Give Local Missoula. And then trying to get people to come to these donor lounges and maybe bring a new person in, or us being present at the donor lounges to kind of promote our cause and encourage people who may have come to donate to another organization or just showed up on accident on that day to give to our organization.
Just poach.
Yep, just steal them all. Did I miss anything?
No.
Is there anything else?
All right, any questions or comments on that one? Okay, great. So I hope this was a good example of how you can go in depth on one of these best practice questionnaires and sort of sketch out what you want to do for your organization and what works best for your capacity. We're by no means suggesting we do all of these things. You'd probably drive yourself insane trying to do that. But I'm imagining this horrible scenario of like one person staffing an office from 2 to 5 a.m. and trying to send out thank you notes. And it sounds kind of painful, but I'm sure you can make it really fun. But I know that oftentimes I go to things like this and I pick up the paper and I'm really excited about the time, and then it just kind of goes on my desk and never really gets touched again for a couple of weeks. But I'm hoping that you'll take the next week or two, which is sort of the time frame until week 8 starts, to think about these questions, sort of sketch out a plan, and then put people in it. And I hope that you're not putting just yourself as the point person for every single task. Really reach out to your volunteer base, your board, your givers. All right, Meredith.
Thanks, Karen.
Yep, question.
What is 8? Did you put what week 8 is?
Yes.
On the calendar? Okay.
It's March 7th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all of this is adapted.
Take the 2 weeks.
Yeah, you got 2 weeks until the 8 weeks. This is all adapted from, I think it's the Greater Sacramento Region Community Foundation, the big day of giving. So it's just adapted, you know, what is it? It's steal shamelessly, no, steal shamelessly, share seamlessly, something like that. Anyway, so we don't have much time left, but we're going to just buzz through these last couple of topics real quickly. But so this next one is really part of donor engagement. It's know your audience. The audience that Give Local is trying to reach is new and young donors, businesses, as we mentioned before, board members this year. So, you know, just thinking about who we want to engage as a whole campaign. But in terms of you knowing your audiences, we were talking with the senior center, for example, and so you may have audiences that you don't think about or you've never asked before, you know, like members, you know, people that come to the senior center. It's only a $10 minimum donation, so you're not asking a lot. You may have volunteers. I'm thinking about the food bank. CASA has a lot of volunteers. The writing coaches, service providers, vendors, you know, people who provide you services. Maybe they've never given to you before. Give Local is a great way to bring them in. Members of your organization, like the city band, for example. It might have a lot of band members that maybe don't give. Service recipients or graduates, I'm thinking about Wild Rockies Field Institute, Montana Conservation Corps, you know, people that have gone through the program and now maybe they're a little more well established and they may have some money to give. So it just makes it much, much easier. So the questions in your workbook you want to consider are here, and I don't need to read them all to you. So anything on audience before we move on to social media real quickly? All right, Erin. She's really good at speeding.
About social media in the past, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. This is almost time for us to go home. But so you guys, okay, we're here. So mostly we're talking about social media in Missoula. We're talking about Facebook, maybe a little bit of Twitter, right? You guys are with me? Okay. But it could be all of these. And then as you're thinking through your work plan, you know, you want to think about what are the messages that you want to convey. And something that Susan, my CEO, is really big into, which I agree with, is we always want to talk about inspiration, not desperation. You know, that we've had much better results from donors when we say, this is what your gift can do. Rather than, you don't necessarily want it to be threatening. If we don't raise this money, then this bad thing will happen, right? Because who likes to be threatened? Like, that got old when we were each 8. So you might think about, you know, how can you have an inspiration message? What is it that you want to inspire people to do? And that way when they give to you on that day, they're going to be more likely to be connected with you long term if they're inspired by your mission and your work. So that's something that you want to think through. And then, you know, remember that Facebook is a great way to get new donors. And every time we're sharing information, so Meredith posts it, Caroline posts it, we share it at United Way. You like us, you see it, you share it with your friends, they see it, so we're getting referred. So keep using that. Don't forget that Facebook is a great way to get referred to people. Oh, and you want to make, you know, you can start now with your social media. You don't have to wait 2 weeks. You can start now. You know those Buffalo Field campaign guys? Yeah, you know how they keep getting a whole bunch of donations? They have 85,000 people like them on Facebook. That's how they get all those donations. And they don't ask for money very many times throughout the year. But anyway, so it's not too early. You can, you know, get some likes because that is really going to make a big difference. If you can post something and it is going to be seen by 80,000 people, then if a small percentage of them donate, all of a sudden you've met your goals, right? See, number one, set goals. So it's not too early. Maybe in the next 2-3 weeks you want to go on. You want to have a Like Us campaign, and most of your posts are going to say, "Please like us. Please help us get to whatever the goal is. We want to get to 1,000 likes. We're 5 away. Please, can you? If you haven't liked our page, please like it now." And maybe that's what you want to do for the next 2 weeks while this is sitting on your desk calling out to you. And then also it's real time, right? So you guys know all this. And we're not, with Give Local, we're not suggesting that you take on a whole bunch more additional work, but rather how to use what you're doing already to take advantage of this community giving campaign, right? So probably somebody in your office is staffing your social media. If not, then use those if it's you, then use the scheduling tools, which we talked about at the social media bootcamp. And if you don't remember, go and grab the PowerPoint at givelocalmissoula.org/about resources for nonprofits, boot camps, and the social media PowerPoints up there, and we talked some about the scheduling tools that Facebook has, as well as a couple of other third-party vendors. And, all right, what else? All right, so that's it for social media. Questions on social media? You guys social media'd out yet?
So I've noticed that, at least on my iPhone, the Give Local website doesn't work great. The Discover Nonprofit categories are black on black. So I was wondering if that is something that I'm having an issue
Hold
with.
down on the number, it'll show you the
If
category.
I hold down on the number.
But
Could you make a note of that, Caroline?
That's really good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, please, yeah, that's exactly what we need to hear about in advance. If it's not working on your phone, we need to know about it because Kimbia still can make changes and they're constantly responsive. One thing I wanted to shout out really was creating Facebook events. So you can create an event for Give Local May 3rd and invite people. So you create it as, you know, yourself as a professional, but then in order to invite people, you have to become yourself as a person and then invite everybody and encourage your board members, your supporters, you know, whoever. I mean, yeah, really, supporters can invite, if it's a public event, they can invite people too. So, you know, just people just to give to you on May 3rd, you can create a Facebook event for Help Us Win Best Overall Campaign Contest, and then every time you post something like, oh, there's a Moscow Monday on March 14th, which is true, you know, come down to us and support, you know, all the money that's raised at all of these pint nights and Mondays and things like that will go to the share fund that all of the nonprofits will split. So you can create an event for the best overall campaign. You can post updates about that. If there are prize challenges that you want to win, you can create an event for that. So I think use Facebook events. I think that they can be quite effective. So I just wanted to pull that up before moving on, and we are very, very close. So maximizing your other communication channels. So we've got social media. This is really to talk about whatever isn't social media. So, you know, what communication tools are you using? These are your questions that you want to be considering when you make up your plan. What aren't you using that you would like to incorporate? You know, maybe pick one. Don't go crazy. And what current marketing collateral can you add a Give Local message to? What do you already have? Like I had mentioned at the beginning, do you have an annual report coming out? Do you have a newsletter? Can you insert something in there, or, you know, put something in and have it printed that way? So we talked about timing and frequency. You've got, you know, up until the last really 2.5 weeks, you're doing soft. You're not doing a lot of direct give on Give Local Day, but more casual, included in other kinds of communications. And so what I've heard suggested is when it's, you know, heavy time for your email specifically, is you could send, you know, during that time, 2 Give Local specific emails, and then, you know, maybe one the week, like one the second week, then one the week right before, and then one on the day of. If you can segment your audience, if you know that your audience, one part of your audience likes a particular program, you can segment it and customize it towards that audience. Be unique, you know, stand out, because there will be a lot of other organizations reaching out to folks at this time, so be as creative as possible. Format, we just talked about this, you know, make sure your email templates are mobile friendly. If you use something like MailChimp or Constant Contact, they already do that for you. You know, make phone calls, direct mail, other campaign ideas. Specific project might be a good thing to raise money for. Use our theme host a donor lounge, volunteer at a donor lounge, collaborate. We've talked about all of these things. And so that is really the end. So we don't have time for questions, but I feel like we did have a lot of time for questions in the middle. So thank you all for coming, and we will have the evaluation up on the website tomorrow so you can evaluate how this went. And thank you. And if you have questions, you can come talk to me.